Beautiful women, square-jawed men, fast cars, big explosion, a man who has overdosed on laxatives. None of these are in today's show.
When you're very little, you learn that, generally speaking, humans live in towns and cities, while animals live in the wild. Sure, we have pets, and some people live on farms or whatever, but those are basically the boundaries you're given. As you become older, you begin to learn that it's not really that simple, that just as there are wild humans, definitely a topic for another episode, there are urban animals. And no, I don't mean those terrible hip-hop themed Warner Brothers shirts you used to see everywhere. What were those about? Urban animals are, of course, wildlife that can and do live with all the filthy two-leggers in their filthy two-leg towns. But which animals do you want living in your town? To help you out, we've assembled a product comparison between the two top-shelf items in the urban wildlife market. For pure novelty and adorableness, South African penguins can't be beat. These cheeky little fellas, like most urban wildlife and even some urban people, will invade your cities and towns looking for somewhere safe to sleep, food, and somewhere safe to breed. But they are rowdy mothers, and in Simonstown, authorities had to take action as penguins were messing up people's gardens, destroying the undergrowth, being noisy and messy, as well as selling cigarettes to school children, shoplifting, and getting your sister teen pregnant. But they're not entirely antisocial. At nearby Boulder Beach, you can actually swim with the penguins, which is a lot more than you can say for most traditional urban wildlife, like foxes, raccoons, pigeons, and rats. Now, I'm not sure if you could actually get to swim with our competing urban animal, but given what else they can do, I'm sure that the stray dogs of Moscow can pull off a pretty decent dog paddle. The reason that the stray dogs of Moscow count as urban wildlife instead of just pets without a home is because they've regressed to a semi-feral state. This is on account of how during the Soviet era there was often so little food that it made more sense for them to forage than to beg from humans who didn't have anything to give, thus weakening the ties between dogs and humans. This is somewhat ironic because what makes the stray dogs of Moscow so friggin' awesome is how human, or at least how clever, they've become. For example, a lone dog will often quietly sneak up behind a person holding food, then bark loudly and surprise that guy into dropping the food, which they then snatch. And when they actually do beg, packs of dogs will select their smallest and cutest member and send that guy out to go get the food because they know that humans like those dogs better. But most impressive of all is how they navigate around the city. Many dogs have been seen to use crossing signals, likely going by the shape of the little man, since being colorblind they can't recognize the green light. And about 20 of the 500 dogs confirmed to live in the metro subway stations have figured out how to get around town on the subway. They do this using a combination of recognizing the noises made over the train PA system, judging the length of time between stations, and knowing each station's unique smells. They also have much better PR than the South African penguins. The stray dogs of Moscow number about 35,000, and yet still, the humans of Moscow, generally speaking, view them quite positively. This is no doubt influenced by the fact that most of the stray dogs in Moscow, for whatever reasons, carefully avoid pooping in busy areas, such as the metro subway station. The devotion of the humans to the dogs was really demonstrated when a subway dog named Malchik was stabbed to death by a crazy fashion model, and a shrine was erected in his honor. I'd like to see a South African penguin get a shrine built for him. No, really, I'd like to see that. It's a very close call, but if you absolutely have to choose between the two animals, then I would say go with the stray dogs from Moscow. They seem a lot easier to coexist with and are much less fussy about the climate. Plus, it's one thing to have a free paper on the subway. I'd love to have a free dog that I can pet on my way to work. However, I'd like to suggest a little something if you want to be the best consumer you can be, and who doesn't? Buy both. And then combine them by teaching the penguins how to ride on the backs of the dogs, right? And then you get two penguins, two dogs, set them up in an arena, get your friends over, start laying bets, and then...
You know, I keep telling the police they should really get their own domain name. I just think they should be a bit more professional, you know? At least they stopped using their old Hotmail address, the 10-inch blue line at hotmail.com. Really, guys? Really?
and surprise them into dropping the food, which they then quickly snack. Snack on. They snatch it, and then they snack on it. Snack, snatch. At the nearby beach of Boulder Beach, Boulder Beach. Now, I'm not sure if you can get to swim with our competing urban animals. They seem a lot easier to coexist with and are making love to your penguin, are far less fussy about the climate.